their control over the monarchs of the Arab world, then the denial of the basic human rights and justice to the people. And also and along with this, this is what we have seen in the Muslim world, the Muslim countries. When we compare the Indian scenario with the situation of the Muslim world, we find that we are positioned in a far better situation. So actually, instead of resisting these imperialistic designs, our Arab Muslim countries, the Muslim-dominated countries, have the tools oppressing their own people, oppressing the culture, the religion, the aspirations, the freedom, the justice to their own people. So actually, but in this scenario, I am not citing examples. We have examples from the current scenario around the world. But along with that, we find pro-democracy and anti-imperialistic movements across the world, especially in the Muslim world, which carries the people's aspirations for freedom. And we find people's movements, resistance movements, democratic movements across the world, especially the Arab and Muslim worlds, which gives rise of hope for the future of the Muslim community against the imperialistic designs. Then we come to the Indian scenario. 1947, India gained independence, unfortunately along with partition. We were freed and we were partitioned. And after that, fortunately, we have a very strong constitutional foundation on sovereign, secular, socialist and democratic principles. And now our country is the second largest country in population size, which is very rich in human and natural resources. But unfortunately, we don't find a just distribution of these resources. As a result of it, the poor and unjust people have the majority in this country due to the corruption in the system of governance. We have a right system which is very wrongly and corruptly misused. Because of this, instead of justice, we are facing injustice. And the objectives of welfare state has been defeated, and corporates took control of the economy. Not only, even the elections are being controlled and governed by the corporates, not the political parties, not by any political leader. So this is the scenario. We are moving to a capitalistic destination in spite of the constitutional promises of secularism, socialism, welfare state and social democracy. And we are constitutionally, but still we have certain very strong constitutional national foundations, which are the legislature, executive and judiciary. A democratic system, a democratically elected, controlled, accountable executive and an independent judiciary are the strengths of this nation. And also media is also another strength of the Indian democracy, which is called the fourth estate. Then again come to the social structure and economic system. That are very important. Then fate of the nation in these spheres will affect the fate of the Indian Muslim community. Whether these aspects will be moving in a positive say line or negative line, that will definitely have an impact on the Muslim community. But as we have seen, as a result of the recent election, now we are moving very fast to the Hindutva communal forces, which claims to represent majoritarian nationalism, and there is a very apprehension that they will ultimately manipulate the Indian democracy to be and utilize, misuse it as a door for their authoritarian, majoritarian, fascist rule. Then we come into the Muslim community. The Muslim community is largest religious minority, is third largest Muslim population, and census we are 13.8 crores, which is 13.4%, and there is a 2001 census data. 2011 data is available, but religious-wise analysis has not yet been published. But the projection is that by now, 2014, the Muslim community will be 14.3, and by 2047, if the same growth rate is there, the Muslim community will be 16.9%, which is the most backward community in India, most marginalized community in India, and most victimized community in India. And also all these have been put some burden on some syndrome, minority syndrome, backwardness syndrome, and has put on this community, and this community has become not a vibrant and dynamic community, but more or less a lethargic and passive community. So we have to overcome this this mindset, this social stigma as a prerequisite for any effort in the process of empowerment. So let us have the objective as the total Muslim empowerment. Let us put it TME, total Muslim empowerment. Mukammal Muslim Taktiyat. So what is meant by empowering a community? Empowering community, a community can exist in different ways. It can merely exist, it can survive, it can develop. But empowerment is something higher than all these levels of existence, survival and development. It is much more than what is development. Development can be brought in from some external agencies, but empowerment should start from within, so the inner self of the community. So empowering them ideologically, educationally, socially, economically and politically. An empowered community, Indian Muslim community means a self-esteem, a self-confidence, a strong community enjoying freedom, justice and security on equal par with other communities in India. That is what we mean empowered Muslim community. Then there is the mission. So what is the mission? So mission setting involves forecasting of varied future streams of possibilities. It is not a mere guesswork. It should be based on facts and data. I think the seminar is an exercise towards getting into the real facts, gather facts, analyze facts, and instead of dreaming widely, just have a meaningful planning based on current statistics and data. So different possible situations that may emerge in India, in the world and in the world during the next 33 years to be taken into account. Mission statement or goal setting will follow work plan and action agenda. Once we have the mission setting, we have the mission statement, then we must work on an action agenda, for which I hope this seminar will be a helpful exercise. So we'll come to the India 100 years, 1947 to 2047. Our mission is, our objective is to have an empowered Indian nation, and within that empowered Indian nation, an empowered Muslim community. So we are in a process of preparing a roadmap for 33 years, a long-term plan, and also within that sub-plans. For example, next 11 years, a roadmap 2047, and within that a roadmap 2025. National plan, regional plan, state plan. So this type of very elaborate and exhaustive plan should be prepared by the community. So our action agenda. So there are two aspects of any agenda for empowerment. Number one is the agenda to be executed by the community, and the second one is the agenda to be achieved through the government. What the community should get from the government implemented. So the community has to play its role, and community must be strong enough to make the government to play its role. These are the two aspects of any community agenda. The future of a community primarily lies on its own behavior. So there are some points. Actually, there are possible directions in the Muslim world, so that we have already discussed. So we just move. Then lastly, I would like to mention some of the thrust areas which should form part of this the community development plan. That's number one. That's first area, reforming the Muslim community. If the Muslim community has to undertake this, the community must itself undergo change, reform. So community must be ready to reform itself, and there must be some efforts to reform the community. So in that there are different aspects. Different aspects are that. I'll just finish within 2-3 minutes. Excuse me. So I think this now only my time has come, and 2 minutes I will more I tell. So there are different, for example, masjid, maktab, waqf, and different traditional institutions are there. Then new institutions like different organizations, NGOs, institutions are there. So how they can be reformed, how they should be coordinated, what role they can be given. Then education, what should be our agenda for education, what should be our agenda for economic uplift, then what should be our agenda for achieving an adequate representation, executive and judiciary, and what should be the mode of our media intervention, intervening in the mainstream media, and also formulating our own new media. Then politics and power, politics means power, and no power means slavery. So we have our adequate share in power. Then women empowerment. If these things don't touch the women folk, that means community will remain 50% unempowered. So any empowerment should have a 50% women share. So what we should do, then reaching to the new generation. You know, all our traditional institutions, all our leadership, all our organizations, they don't have any representation of the youth, the new generation. So they are utterly, we sometimes they find that they are utterly failing to reach new generation. So if it is a plan for future, of course, we must include and involve the new generation. For that, a new plan should be there. Then, in all aspects, HR is very important. Human resource development. We must be able to set the targets and to arrive at different and to form different schemes to achieve these targets. For example, how many lawyers we need, how many media persons we need, so how many social workers we need. So there should be specific, it should be very specific in numbers, and there should be a time-bound plan to achieve this. Then lastly, this addressing the challenges global and national, because we are not we cannot plan in isolation. We cannot work in isolation. So there will be different aspects, global trends. Positive can be positive, can be negative. So if they are negative, how they can be made positive? Revert to the positive line. So the global and national level, the happenings should be monitored and it should be made to our service. So the last one is actually we are only this Empower India Foundation is only just initiating a brainstorming exercise, and the community has to take it. All the institutions, organizations of the community has a responsibility how they will share and how they will coordinate, how they will cooperate. That is the real challenge before us. And then there must be a project infrastructure, a system for monitoring, and a very efficient way of marketing the projects. With these words, I am just concluding. I have some points on this today's topic also, because that's what we have to cover. Literacy in this seminar, I hope, or I request that some points to be covered. Literacy has to be covered, primary education has to be covered, secondary education has to be covered, higher education, then professional education, guidance and counseling, public service training, scholarship schemes, talent search and promotion, utilizing government services, institution building, and not but last but not least is that building commitment. Education without commitment will not be of any service to the community, society and humanity. So these are the very wide area of this today's topic, and with this brief introduction and hope of getting very good feedback, I conclude. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
In-depth analysis, data and statistics. So now I would like to call upon Ms. Professor Nazneen Begum, Corporator BBM and also a social activist, who will be talking on education, awareness and commitment.
हो मुबारक तुझे मंजिल का तसव्वुर तो मिला, हो मुबारक तुझे मंजिल का तसव्वुर तो मिला, वो तसव्वुर जो चिरागे राहे तामीर भी है. Dear most comrades, community comrades, organizers, chairman of the organization, I would like to present a paper on really the most needed item on the roadmap. Not the education, but the roadmap to the education, how to implement what are the resources. Now I have given a topic, education, awareness and commitments. Shall I define the education is the question. At the onset, I pray Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to bless our organizers' success in their endeavor, in their desire to lead the community towards proper direction. It is an area of primary concern that today Muslim community has submerged in the pool of ignorance, which has led to its disastrous backwardness. We need to understand the power of education. Education is a power to command. It is a source to acquire. It is a spring of thoughts. It is a light to the pathway of sensible life. It is a treasure of knowledge, ocean of information. It is a strength of confidence. ability of convincing, a distinguishing factor, and whatnot. How much do we possess of all these? Are we empowered these days? Are we progressing in any of these fields? Are we the sign of dignity anywhere? Is there any soul on earth to appreciate us? Are we contributing in any sector? Are we able to command the government? Are we able to convince the masses? Are we scientists? Are we inventors? Are we at higher ranks or posts? What are we? Where are we? We are nowhere. We are floating in the glory of past. Then we were everything, and today we are at the receiving end with demands and not the giver category. No one bothers and attaches value for what we were, but assess what we are now. In the highly competitive world, each one is trying to be ahead of others, but we are still beating the bush, sailing in the ship of ignorance. Sailing in the ship of ignorance. Dropout rates among Muslims are the highest for all socio-religious communities. 57% of Indian Muslims have not even studied up to 4th standard, and according to such and are functionally illiterate. 28% of children of Muslims are totally out of schools. According to such a committee, undergraduates are 4%, page number 69 in such a committee. Postgraduates are only 2%, page number 60 and 69. IIMS 1.35%, IITS 3.3%. The rest are lingering about between primary and middle school. There is some improvement in percentage in urban areas, but not much difference in rural areas in the education. Low profile in education has brought us down in the employment sector too. The number and percentage of Muslims in all government sectors of India has steadily declined from 31% in early 1947 to only 2.3%. A graphic picture of Muslim deprivation also emerges from the studies done by the National Council of Applied Economic Research, summed up as Muslims in India have a poor human development status. Widespread illiteracy, low income, irregular employment, implying thereby a high incidence of poverty is all pervasive among the Muslims. The Article 45 of Indian Constitution made it obligatory on the government to achieve 100% literacy within 10 years from the enforcement of the Constitution in 1950. Our government shall provide free and compulsory education for all children until they complete the age of 14 years. But it has not become a reality even after 66 years of independence. Our country started with 20% literacy rate in 1950, is still struggling to achieve its goal, and the worst tragedy is that Muslim community has miserably failed to share the performance in the promotion of education. Recently, Congress government announced that it will implement free education system up to 14 years of age and 25% free seats for minority children in private schools too. But in reality, it is a bundle of confusion and misconception. Free admission is from first standard only to subsequent standards, and no free admission in all the standards like from 1 to 10. Also, 25% free seats in private institutes are facing their own hurdles. The 93rd Constitution Amendment 2001 enacting free and compulsory education for all children is a fundamental right, but it still remains a ray of hope. In spite of all these hurdles, Muslims in South India are improving day by day. For the last 2.5 decades, still they have not been able to come up par with other communities. Because of deliberate discrimination they are facing in every sector. Apart from this, Muslims are very often subjected to riots and communal violence. According to Ram Punyani, the data from 1961 to 1992 shows that During these 4 decades, 80% of victims of communal violence have been Muslims. The brutal killing of over 2,000 Muslims is a ghastly reminder of an organized violence with tactics supported by the ruling authorities that reached genocidal proportion in Gujarat in 2002. These are not the cursory incidents to wipe off from the memory, but to peep deep into the disastrous scars left on the community. How are we to recollect, concentrate and perform in the arena of education where regular attention is needed? Causes. Although adverse circumstances played their own role in declining the community, but we are also equally responsible, particularly in education sector, for its deteriorating situation. Sir Syed was the first to point out that the Muslims' real problem was not political but educational. He insisted upon Muslims for a pragmatic approach to their problems, but he was rejected. Also, labeled him as infidel, kafir. T.B. Macaulay came to India in 1834 as a member of Supreme Council of India and initiated English education system which was implemented all over the country. His intention was so that a generation may arise which will be Indian in birth and English in thought. We fell into its negative trap, neglecting the positive aspect and missed the opportunity. All the Muslim clerics except Sir Syed Khan rise to the occasion and oppose vehemently and inhibited the entry of Muslims from joining these educational institutions. And those very few who joined in the beginning also discontinued